So you just bought a house and now you're not sure if you love it. What do you do? Stay tuned. So what do you do if you bought a house and you're not sure if it's everything that you thought it was going to be? It's not uncommon, so don't panic. Don't feel like all is lost. There are some things that are more common that happen to people after they buy a house. So I'm going to talk about those and how you can deal with them. But try not to lose heart, because it is not as uncommon as you might think. The first thing that happens, and this is not uncommon, especially, well, I can't even say if you buy an older home, because sometimes if you have gone into a home that was just built, you have these issues, but sometimes there's unexpected maintenance. And you get in there and the hot water heater breaks or your roof starts to leak. These are things that happen when you own a home. Hopefully, going into the buying process, you had your money saved that was going to be for your house purchase. Hopefully, you planned for some of the things that you might have to do once you've moved in. When I'm working with the buyers, if we go through a house that there are things that, aren't exactly as they want, we'll talk about what they can do to change it once they move in, but we also have a discussion about how much that's going to cost. And that's a really good conversation to have with your agent, because he or she will be able to give you their insight into what things cost. Sometimes they might have some people that they know that they've worked with, that their clients have worked with, that have done a really good job if you're looking to hire people. So hopefully you're prepared or understand going into the process that you might have some unexpected maintenance. But if you're not prepared, or if it's something you didn't think about, hopefully you have a little bit of a nest egg that was left that you can put toward that, or maybe you can put it on credit to get whatever that is fixed. Another thing that happens sometimes is people move in and they realize they're not crazy about the neighborhood they moved into. And that is really something that you can't know in advance. The people that are selling the house might tell you that it's a great neighborhood, but maybe it was a great neighborhood for them and not for you. So you end up in a situation where you have to try to make the best of it. Now, some simple fixes, let's say that there's an eyesore, that when you are sitting on your back deck, there's a dumpster back there and you hate it. Plant a tree or a shrub and block that. If there's a dog that barks all the time, if you put some shrubbery or landscaping in, sometimes that can absorb some of that sound. So those are quick fixes. If you really don't love that, what you could do is you could move and rent your home to somebody else. If you plan to sell it, you're probably going to want to wait at least 2 years so that you don't pay capital gains taxes on it. But you have to find out how that's going to work for you if that's what you decide to do. Sometimes people get into a home and their mortgage is more than they thought it was going to be. That's a tough one, and it does happen. First and foremost, go and look at your budget. If you and somebody else, if you and a partner, you and a spouse are in this house together, look at your budget and maybe cut some things out that you don't absolutely need for right now. So if you need to talk to a financial advisor, maybe they can help you see, where the miscalculation was, and maybe they can also look at your finances and figure out where you can use some extra money for right now until you get back to a point where you are able to afford that mortgage. Some people go into a house and they realize that it's too big. Let's say you were used to an apartment and now you're in a home and you feel like you have all this empty space. You don't have to fill it all at once. It might bug you. It bugs me, but you don't have to do that. Pick a room, get a room to where you are happy with it, and then move on. Wait a little bit if financially you need to, but you can, it's something that you can make adjustments to, and something that you might have to come to terms with. It's not going to be as filled maybe as your small apartment that you had. But I would bet, and depending on what your status is in life, but if you have a family or you have a spouse and you are planning to have a family, you will fill up that space over time. Maybe at first it's a little big to clean, so don't clean the whole house at once. Do a couple of rooms on Monday, do a couple of rooms on Tuesday, and then finish it on Friday or whatever. But make some adjustments in how you do things so that, if that's the problem, if it's too big to clean or too big to manage, then break that up so that it's more manageable. Sometimes people panic when they look in their bank account after they close on the house and that money that they had saved is gone. And they just panic because they were used to, they're saving, and you were saving for that, right? And now it's gone. Where did it go? I threw it all away. You did not. You did not throw it all away. You invested it. You invested it in a home. And real estate is a pretty solid investment most of the time. So don't panic. You didn't throw it away. You still have it. You're just living in it instead of looking at it in your bank account. Another thing that people do, and you need to try not to do this, but they get a mortgage and it's locked in and they're going to close, and then the mortgage rate drops. Now, that's probably not going to happen right now, but it could, or it does sometimes. And then they think, I could have got a better mortgage. You know what? You didn't. And so sometimes you need to let those things go. Sometimes you can't predict the future. And if it really bugs you, you can refinance down the road. So try not to drive yourself crazy over that because some things are out of your control. Sometimes what happens is, if you've lived in a place for a certain amount of time and you are used to things being one way, and then I hear the noise in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm not sure what's happening outside, but I apologize for that. But anyhow, sometimes people are used to living in one place. They've lived there for 10 years. They've worked in the same place. Then they move and their commute is further. Yeah, that can be annoying. I did that. I did it more than once in my lifetime. Some of that you just have to suck up. Other times, maybe if you want to find somebody to carpool with, that can make the ride seem a little more pleasant, right? Because you have somebody to talk to. You don't have to drive every day. If the weather's bad, maybe if you commute, with somebody that has a truck, that makes it a little easier. But that can work sometimes, and sometimes, depending on what you do, you might be able to negotiate working from home. So that's something to consider. So sometimes you move into a house and you didn't realize that your furniture wouldn't fit, or you didn't really like how certain things were laid out. For me, for women, that's the kitchen a lot of the time. It has to be conducive to cooking for me. But for other people, it's their living room space, or, if you have an office, how you're going to arrange your desk and whatnot. You can remodel. You just bought a house. I wouldn't suggest that as your first thing unless when you were going through the house with your agent, you had that discussion and you had $10,000, $15,000 left that you had planned to use to remodel. So that is a possibility, but the cheaper route, I think, is to go on to Pinterest or to Houzz, Houzz, houzz.com, and they have great pictures on there. I mean, you can put in there, I go into Houzz, and if there's a space that I'm not sure what to do with, how to decorate my entryway, or how to, whatever it is, and they'll show you images of what other people have done, and sometimes they're images of what designers have done. So I think that's a great resource. Pinterest is a great resource. So before you, throw all your furniture away in disgust or have it so that you just walk into the room and hate it every time, look and see what's out there. And you might be surprised that a few simple not so expensive things can change a space or help the layout if it's not the layout that you love. Sometimes people buy a house and then they feel like they overpaid. They'll continue to look at houses. You know, you can go through life and second guess everything you do, or you can go through life, make the best decision that you can at the time. If you are making that decision with somebody else, you consult them. If you are working with a real estate, you have this conversation. You really should love the house you buy. And if you overpay a little bit more and love that house, because what I've also seen is people go, oh, I should have bid more for that house because I would have loved it. It was perfect, but I just didn't want to spend that amount of money. So this can go both ways. So if you start to go into that mindset where, you know, I overpaid, or that house would have been better, I should have bought that house, and it wasn't on the market yet, like it just came on the market. Stop and think, maybe this is where you're supposed to be. And relax about the price, because as I said before, the market usually comes back and you should be able to sell your house down the road and get money back on that investment that you made. The last thing is, and it's kind of goes with this last one, is you look at other homes or you go and visit one of your new neighbors and you're like, oh, their house is so much better than mine. And it's not exactly what you wanted. Some things you can fix. And again, if you've spent a lot of money and you don't have the money right now, you might have to live with it for 6 months or a year, but know or start to plan how you can make that fix. Even get bids, you know, so you have an idea at least of what it might cost you. Now, if you wait a year or two, of course, those prices are probably going to go up, but start to plan for how you're going to fix that. And that'll make you feel better if you can't do it right off the top. But ideally, when you're in the process, have conversations with your agent. Your agent will get to know who you are, and they will, you know, if you've gone through a lot of homes with them. Sometimes I've gone, you know, through many homes with buyers, and they come through with their kids, or they'll bring their parents through, or they'll bring their brother or sister through, or whatever. And you get to have a sense of those clients, those people. And your agent, when you're having these discussions and walking through houses, you should be able to talk not only to whoever you're buying the house with, but also to your agent. And your agent is going to be able to pull from her experience, and they'll be able to guide you. And so hopefully you won't end up in that stage where you've bought the house and it's not exactly what you wanted. But don't lose heart. If you buy a home and it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be, you can always make changes. It's your home now. Make a plan. Figure out what bugs you the most first. Put that on the list to fix first. Make a budget for it. Get some idea of how much it's going to cost. And just those steps should start to make you feel better about where you are. So hopefully this video has helped you out if you are having some buyer's remorse, and maybe one of the solutions that I suggested will alleviate that stress for you. Thanks again for stopping by and watching the videos. Hopefully you'll get some good advice from here and you won't be as stressed if you are having buyer's remorse. Subscribe at the bottom of the page. Thank you for stopping by. I will put out another video next Friday, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week.